guys. Hey, welcome to the podcast, Rangatahi podcast with Nate, Searle. This is our third episode, and it's been a while since we've recorded one. Been really busy at the moment, but yeah, it's a pleasure to have you here and talk about the youth of today, and I guess what you were like as a young rangatahi. So I'll let you give you a chance just to introduce yourself, who you are, where your whereabouts are, and so give us insight of who you are.
Cool.
Yeah.
Like Luke said, Nate Searle. I'm actually his brother. Born and raised, I guess, in Blenheim. Marlborough boy. We're both Marlborough boys.
Yes.
And yeah, moved down to Christchurch. Oh man, it was over 20 years ago now. Went to Automotive High School. Here in Christchurch, obviously, and married with 4 kids. Tyrell is the oldest, is at Shirley Boys, and then Izzy, Chizzy, at Chisnawood, and then I got 2 younger ones, Hezekiah, and Faith, who are at Fito Primary School, which is the old Linwood North, what I do now is I run a basketball club called Lions Basketball, or Celebration Lions Basketball Club, and I do a bit of part-time work with the youth, this program called Y Dot, teaching automotive, tutoring, just a small class, just an entry level for kids that are either homeschooled, sometimes police referrals, and kids that aren't just kind of doing too well at school, or just are more kinesthetic learners, hands-on learners, and so wanting to use their hands, carpentry, automotive and all that good stuff. So
Nice. Awesome. So I guess what we're going to do and talk about is just give a deep down into background, history and stuff like that, sort of just around I guess talking about what are the things that you've struggled with since obviously now you're working with youth in the area of basketball and automotive, and then you're in that space now. But really, what I want you to do is take us on a journey of from where when you're a youth and I guess the challenges and the issues and that you've had to sort of battle through to actually get to where you are today. Because I really think when you get a chance to work with the youth, you kind of see yourself in the youth today and see the things that what I find, I'm not too sure about you, but the reason why you kind of work in the space of youth, because you know what it's like to be a youth and the things that you struggle with, that you kind of want to help them and kind of grab the torch and be the one to start supporting them now.
Yeah.
Because there was other people that maybe supported you along the way, and you want to be that person who wants to carry the banner and, help with the youth, progress forward, because we know that's not easy. So yeah, give us an insight of, I guess, take us through a little journey of some of the issues and the struggles you faced as a youth.
Yep. Well, I guess I think if we go right back, to the beginning, a root issue, that for youth might not even really understand or know at in their current age, if it's high school or whatever, but for me and obviously yourself, bro, for us growing up, with our parents split, and so that there you don't notice it at that time, when you're growing up as a kid, but not having the kind of father figure around, together with mum, as in mum and dad together in the household, and setting those foundations and some of those keys and stuff growing up as a kid. Later on in life, when you hit kind of the teenage years, not having that father figure, or not even having a mum for nurturing, or father figure for, correction, or whatever it be, um, can, alter courses, I believe.
Yeah.
Um, and yeah, I think, struggling for me, um, kind of living with that rejection with as a young male through, end of intermediate into
Mm.
high school, um, suffering with that kind of rejection, like, oh man, did I, was it because of me that they split up, or, did I do something, or was I just such a troublemaker? I don't know. And man, how come, the bros over there got a mean family, or whatever,
Yeah, yeah.
and things like
Mm.
that. Um, and then, yeah, fast forward into, I think it was my high school years. Um, for me, and probably still is relevant today, but yeah, the game hasn't changed in terms of temptation. The temptations were definitely out there. I mean, partying, drugs and alcohol,
Yeah.
girls, um, you know, stealing, getting up to mischief, all that kind of stuff. I think those temptations are still very real today,
Mm.
if not intensified, with the access and just, I guess, man, the platform of connection with
Yeah.
social media is
Mm.
just so easy.
Yeah, yeah.
It's just so easy now. Where for us, it was like, get the, well, I mean, texting came in later, but, towards, I don't know, mid 2000s. But, back then it's like ringing up your mates and stuff like that, and
Yeah, yeah.
three-way calling, right? And, oh,
Mm.
hang up, pick up. But now it's just so accessible,
Mm.
and to link up in that way. And, yeah, so, yeah, the temptations, I believe, haven't changed. It's just intensified.
Yeah.
Um, and, for me, um, and hey, man, some could relate to this. Like, I had my first child when I was 15. Um, yeah, I was
Yeah.
15, man, and I
Mm.
was year 10 at Aranui High School.
Yeah.
And my world flipped upside down big time, like whoa, I've got to wake up now. Like,
Yeah,
I've
yeah.
actually got a kid on the way.
Mm.
Um, and I've got to get my A into G.
Yeah, yeah.
I got, and thanks, all thanks to mum. She was able to, mum's always been supportive, for us,
Yeah.
and enabled me to continue to stay at school, so that I could, yeah, continue my education. And she was able to, help look after, Tyrell in those early years. But yeah, that was a huge turning point for me, um, as a teenager. I think, um, yeah, still, partying and getting up to mischief and all that kind of stuff. And probably a lot of youth, yeah, it's obviously still, prevalent
Yeah.
today.
Mm.
Um, but yeah, I guess, yeah, for me and my journey, into like what I'm doing now and being a youth and what I seen, man, by the time I kind of hit 18, I kind of tested and done it all.
Yeah, yeah.
Been to the nightclubs and all that kind of
Yeah.
stuff, pop cars,
Mm.
yeah, a bit of Grand Theft Auto, and yeah, all the stuff mum probably hearing for the first time. um, sneaking out the window and then going, catching up with the boys, and to the point where it was just like, mum, just kind of, I was at the age where it's just like, yeah, sweet,
Mm.
I'm going out.
Yeah.
Um, and yeah, getting up to mischief.
Yeah.
Um, and then yeah, it wasn't until, obviously, if for those that, that know me, obviously with my, being a Christian, and finished school, and then found God, and then, changed my life radically. I had a period where there was I'd left school and well, I'd finished school, but yeah, didn't get NCA level 3 or whatever. But
Yeah, yeah.
I went through school because of
Mm,
basketball. So yeah, my background with as a youth, like I love basketball and I did a bit of boxing
yeah.
and volleyball.
Hmm.
Um, and I was in the basketball academy at Automotive High School. And found that to be like, oh, this is the one thing. Um, as a youth, that kind of, this is before, I came to church and met God. Basketball was kind of like my grounding. It was something that kind of gave me stability
Yeah.
at that time when I was young. In my teenage years, it was something that I could just go to the park, grab a ball, and just release and just
Mm,
clear my mind. That was kind of like my thing. I don't know what you call it, but yeah, you know what I mean.
yeah, yeah.
Um, and then yeah, leaving high school. Obviously, yeah, had a period where I had no work. And then went through a bit of a, I guess you could kind of say a bit of a depressant state
Yeah.
where I'm like just gaming my life away.
Mm,
Shout out to MW too. And yeah, that was a time of yeah, some real deep searching. Like,
mm,
what's my purpose? Like, what am I doing with myself? I'm just like, dropping my kid off at preschool and then just coming home, beep, straight on the PS3 or
yeah,
whatever.
yeah.
Um, and then yeah, fast forward, started obviously working, 19-year-old. Working. Man, my first job was a scrap metal yard,
Yeah.
Bromley. Some specific metals. Thought nothing of it. I thought it was mean because I was like, yo, got a first full-time job,
Mm,
and it helped me buy my first home by the time I was 22, I believe. Saved up. Um, Met my now wife Katie, and we obviously working together, funds and all that kind of stuff. Bought my first home by the time I was 22, and then it came to a point where I was like, I was actually at the um, dinner table at the in-laws, and my father-in-law, um, he challenged me and he goes, "Oh, so what are you going to do with your life? Are you going to stay at the scrap metal yard for the rest of your life, or um, are you going to, go for management, or what's the purpose of being there?
yeah.
Why don't you get a trade or something?" So, ended up getting a trade. And I mean, I've always liked cars. Always, excuse me, always liked cars. Didn't know like intricately how they actually really work,
Mm,
the parts of it and all that kind of stuff. But just liked cars and obviously could understand, that's a Subi and Nissan and that's a, turbo model, all that kind of stuff.
yeah.
And then I went to back then CPIT, and then before they changed the name to UTA. Um, and yeah, studied full time. And man, there was a lot of there's a lot of youth that go through there.
Yeah.
A lot of high school kids that that drop out, or kids that on the gateway program or want something else. That I noticed there because I was only like maybe 24, 25 ish. Yeah. When I came in, and I'm like one of the old dudes in there. And I'm like, yeah, you're only 24, 25. But there's
Yeah.
like dudes that are like 16, 17,
Mm,
18, all looking at me like, what? You got a house? You're married? You got 3 kids? Like, hey,
yeah.
you left full time work to come back to study?
Mm,
So yeah, did that. Got my qualification. Went and worked at a local garage in New Brighton. And then I got a job at Armstrong Prestige, Mercedes Benz, and Jeep. I was the Jeep specialist for about 5 years. That in itself was crazy, because I never thought that a boy from the hood in Aranui in A-Town would ever be working for all your Miraval tractor owners that we call them in the workshop. All your living in Miraval and St. Andrew's College. Yeah, boy from Aranui was fixing your car, he was touching your Merc and going for a joyride. Nah, I'm just kidding. But yeah, that was crazy. Got to work with some pretty exotic cars. Yeah, and so yeah, in that time, I guess coming back to now, yeah, basketball, had come kind of full circle. I don't know, man. I think it was our cousin Vioni
Oh yeah.
when he started at Chisnellwood, and he wanted to play basketball. And then I was like, oh, okay, I'll teach you something.
Yeah.
And then I was like, oh, who's your coach? Oh, no, they don't have the coach. And I was like, oh, okay, I might reach out. I might reach out and see if I can coach, because I thought this would be kind of cool. I reached out to send an email to someone at Chisnellwood, and then next minute got a email back from someone and said, yep, come and do some trials. Oh, come and be a part of the trial.
Yeah.
And then got there, and this was my first introduction into coaching. Got there, Chisnellwood Intermediate, got given a list of 120 kids, and they said to me, cut 60. And this is day one.
Yeah.
Introduction into coaching, and I was just like, what? And they were like, yep. You have to, mate. We only can have 6 teams. There's going to be a lot of kids that are going to be upset. I was
Hey, mate, you emailed us again. You want the job?
And I was like, oh, well, Vioni's going down first. But yeah, that was my my first gig at coaching.
Yeah.
Was at Chisnellwood Intermediate, and man, I got so much satisfaction from it.
Yeah.
Being in and around the kids again.
Yeah, man. It's like, it's awesome that you've shared like a whole timeline of events that you've basically gone through as a youth, from basically issues around separated parents. Yeah, it's definitely a struggle around that time. So what I'm going to try to pinpoint is just the certain different timelines that I reckon will kind of help. So I think the ones that kind of need to go together is like because when the parents had separated, right, we didn't know any better. That was our normal. Like, okay, you're supposed to date a few people to figure out who the right one is, instead of taking your time. And obviously we grew up later on within the church, and we were able to get some wisdom around relationships and stuff like that. And that was that was when we're like, oh, we've been doing it wrong, And so like through all that kind of stuff, and then you were talking about the temptations. We're moving on to the temptations, and drinking alcohol and trying different things. What do you think we ended up doing those things from? Like, do you reckon there's a link between separated parents to finding satisfaction within the temptations? What's your thoughts around those two things? Are they the same or are they separate? Just give us some depth into what you reckon during that time, because you had gone through that.
Right. I think not having a healthy home, like when I say that, like structurally, like having mum and dad present, and involved, like mum was like involved, and at certain times, different times and things like that. But I do think there was a longing for some satisfaction, and it was whatever it may be, because kind of wasn't really getting it from home, to some degree. I mean, we had loving families and things like that, but
Mum did the best she could with her own understanding.
100%.
And I think we didn't get to know that till we were a bit older too.
Truth. Yeah.
What was Mum up to? And then we're like,
Mum was just trying to survive, man. She was
was.
trying to make sure you had
Hard-working
food.
mum.
Man. Hardworking mum, man. Shout out to mum. She always made sure I got to my tournaments. And it's funny because I was reflecting, like, that's why mum was working Saturdays overtime.
But even if we had the holes in the shoes there, we still
every sock had a hole in it. But I think because of not having discipline, that's the word I'm looking for. Discipline in the home, and a scene and some boundaries.
Yeah.
And yeah, like you said, mum did her best.
Mm.
And said no, always gave like, hey, you shouldn't be doing this, and tried to bring correction and
Yeah. Yeah.
stuff. But you know, man, probably raising males, we were just kind of like, nah, we want to go do our own thing,
Mm.
and so not having that discipline in the home
Yeah.
kind of just like left me to be like, oh, I want to go try this, I want to go do that, because I ain't got no dad to tell me,
Yeah. Yeah.
to tell me, hey son, come on now, whatever. My dad lives back in Blenheim, and we
Yeah.
were down here in
Yeah.
Christchurch, so
Mm.
the father figure I had was you, bro. And so yeah, I guess, yeah, to answer your question, I think not having that discipline in the
Yeah.
home, yeah, not having that discipline, grounding,
Yeah.
what's my worth, what's my purpose,
Mm.
I mean, mum was always, get education and family first
Yeah.
and all
Yeah.
that stuff,
Mm.
God first, family, and, um, you know,
Yeah.
yeah,
Mm.
yeah.
And then later on, you fell into an early relationship.
Mm-hmm.
Had a baby at 15 years old.
Yep.
What was going through? Because obviously there'll be some youth out there that have, probably not that early, but quite
Mm-hmm.
early on, where they've had their girlfriend pregnant.
Mm-hmm.
What was going through your head at that time? Like, were you like, man, what have I done? Like,
Yep.
oh, yeah.
Yep. Yeah. Man, I thought, man, I was speechless. I was like, man, this is really happening. Um, and I have come across different individuals, youth, through basketball and through just in life that are
Mm.
like, maybe not as young as me, but maybe 1 or 2 years, maybe 17, 18 years old. But I don't know, maybe I had a proving, like, yeah, for me personally, I was just like, man, I gotta do my best now,
Yeah.
and yep, did I still struggle with temptations and partying and things like that? Yeah, 100%.
Mm.
Still wanted, because man, I was still a kid.
Yeah. Still young.
I still
Yeah.
wanted to party.
Yeah.
It
Don't
was
want to miss
only,
out, eh?
I didn't want to miss out,
Yeah.
man. I was like, yo,
Mm.
mum, look after Tyrell. I'm out.
Yeah.
So I mean, I was thankful. I was lucky. I
Mm.
had a mum that was able to support,
Yeah.
me, and through that time,
Mm.
so I could still be a kid, man.
Yeah. Yeah.
Because I was a kid raising a kid.
Yeah. Yeah.
So yeah, I was fortunate to have mum help me out, so I was able to
Mm.
still be a kid and still go to school and do all that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
But me personally, I did have a urge to wanna do my best. Like, oh man,
Mm.
I've got to actually study in class now.
Yeah.
I've
Yeah.
actually got to try and make something of myself. So
Mm.
yeah, that was kind of my drive.
Yeah. Yeah.
My thought process through that time.
Mm. So that helped you like move forward and find work
Hmm.
and get yourself kind of sorted.
Yep.
Did you have like any goals and visions?
Yep.
Because I know a few things that happened.
Hmm.
Give us some insight. What kind of helped you? Because obviously having a child was like, man, I got to pull my head in now.
Yep.
But what are some things you did in order to make sure you had followed through with the goals that you had?
Yeah, good question. When I
Tell us about the vision board or the whole. Do you remember that?
yeah, I do.
Yeah,
I do,
yeah.
man.
Tell
Yeah,
us
I
that,
do.
because I think that really held you accountable.
Yeah.
Yeah, and
Uh,
Katie, I think, helped you.
yeah. I mean,
She's
there's a
probably the
deep
one.
story
Yeah.
about that board, but
She's probably the one that helped pull your head in around that time as well.
100%,
So I think she
100%.
was really good for you in
Yeah,
and around that time too.
100%.
Because I
Um,
seen you're still gaming around that
yeah,
time.
yeah,
And I
man.
think
Yeah,
when she came into your life, like
yeah.
a lot of things, she made things, for you to be able to open
Hmm.
up your mind a little bit more.
Yeah,
That's what I
yeah.
seen in you when she came
Mm.
in and around your life, and I was like, oh,
Yeah.
Oh, we can do it. This girl can do
Yeah,
it.
hey. Yeah. I think yeah, because what I was 19 at the time, finished school.
Yeah.
Tyrell was probably about, man, I want to say
That's it.
three. What?
Yeah, or
Oh,
3 to 4.
three
Yeah.
and a half going
Yeah.
four.
Mm.
Yeah, three going on four, and yeah, I was just, man, still a kid, man, still a kid, still growing up. I was gaming.
Mm.
My days away, I was still bound to smoking dope every day, and always like hustling to try and get that hit.
Mm.
Trying other stuff out that was coming on on the scene. That's why I had that massive addiction. I guess you could call it addiction, but
Yeah.
adrenaline rush to steal,
Mm.
because I had to pay for my addiction,
Yeah.
and mum's $20 pocket money a week didn't cut
Yeah.
it. you know, so yeah, I had to feed that addiction with theft, and yeah, it wasn't until yeah, found God, and then yeah, Katie had came into my life, and yeah, I had this to do list. I remember it was called the to do list. It was called the to do list, and it was like I crack up about the story as well. It was like to do, get a life, get a license, get a job. Just simple life
Yeah.
stuff, man.
Mm.
Um, and but I always actually had, from the moment Tyrell was born when I was 15 years old, I had this goal within me, even at that young,
Yep.
that I'm going to I'm going to work hard to have my own home, and I'm going to be able to provide for him,
Mm.
and won't be reliant on my mum,
Yeah.
and I'll be able to take care of him myself.
Mm.
And so that was always an underlining goal for me.
Yeah.
But yeah, I had this vision board to do list,
Mm.
and yeah, that kind of helped me, remind myself when I woke up and looked at the mirror, and I was like, oh yeah, there's that to do list. So I got to try and tick some of that stuff off.
Yeah. Yeah.
So yeah, practical things like that.
Yeah.
They definitely help.
Mm.
They definitely help. And you might think, as a young person, might think that it's a little bit techy,
Yeah.
but man, you talk to some of the most successful people in this world, and they'll have some practical things that they do on a daily basis that help set themselves
Yeah.
up.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Because there's a thing I think they talk about, like if you have goals
Yep.
and if you were to write them down, I think there's a study that's been done that's you're 42% more likely to achieve the goal if you just write it down. So a lot of people have goals, but they're just like on their mind, but
Yeah.
not really writing it down. I think writing it down
Yep.
kind of gives you kind of like motives of like,
Yes.
I'm real, like I need to do this.
Yes.
That's why you have it, and I think you had it by your bed, eh? So when you
Yep.
wake up, it would be always there.
100%.
But yeah, so that's achieving your goals, moving forward. What do you think kind of made that shift from the things that you were struggling with, the things you were doing as a youth, the things you had seen as a young person? What do you think was what do you think, how did that 180 turn to now helping out with the youth? What are some of the things that help, like, make that U-turn? Was it a sudden U-turn, or is there certain things you had to, like, progress through, like day in and day out?
Right. So like what? Sorry. So what made me? Yeah. What 180 to work with youth? To want to work with youth?
Yeah, because obviously, like a broken person that's broken, right?
Yeah.
They're going through stuff. Things happen with their family. A lot of brokenness,
Yeah.
temptations, and then we don't just, you don't expect someone that's struggling with that kind of stuff, and you just jump
Yeah.
into working with youth. Obviously, there must be a time period of healing, a time period of of working through,
Mhm.
understanding, getting wisdom.
Mhm.
What do you think kind of helped that shift? And
Yeah.
because why I want you to talk about that is that there could be a lot of youth that have made their
Mhm.
girlfriend pregnant at an early age. Um, the parents have split up, broken home,
Mm.
um, don't have a job,
Yeah.
don't have any goals. One of the
Mhm.
things they know, they can write down goals,
Mm.
but what's the follow through? Like,
Mm.
what are some of the things that kind of really helped you kind
Mhm.
of pull your head in, and what did you do? What are the decisions that were made
Mm.
that made that impactful change for you to where you are now? Because you didn't just
Mm.
go from that to now owning your own home, having more
Yeah.
kids,
Yeah.
and
Yeah.
then being working with youth,
Mhm.
working with cars.
Mhm. Mhm.
So
Yeah.
well, I think
Yeah.
we want to cover that chunk of
Yeah.
wisdom.
Man, I gotta be honest. It was the U-turn that God did in my life, man. I don't know any
Mm,
other way.
yeah.
It was God actually made that change in me,
Mm,
and He showed me a better way, and I think it was He, you know, um, gave me a sense of purpose and belonging,
yeah.
and then from that I was able to build upon that and make some changes in my life. Giving up the drugs and alcohol, heavy
Mm,
addiction to alcohol, and smoking, and slowly made those. It wasn't all in just one hit.
yeah.
It
It
was
happens to
definitely.
some people that way.
It does. It does, man. It does. It
Yeah.
does happen to some
Mm,
people that it's just like a 180 like that.
yeah.
But for me, it was a progression thing. It was just whatever God put His finger
Yeah.
on my mind, on my hand, like
Mm,
this area, and then now this area, and now this area, and then slowly I made changes, and I wanted to better myself, and yeah, man, just sought wisdom from others.
yeah.
Others that there was just this urge to want the best
Mm,
for my family and for myself. Like, man, I want what he's got.
yeah. Yeah.
What has he got? He got freedom. He's got life.
Mm,
How did he own his home?
yes.
Where did
Mm,
he get that job? Like, I want, I'll study.
yeah.
Okay,
Yeah.
yeah, yeah. So you're asking,
Mm,
and I mean, as growing up as a youth, I was very closed off. I just
yeah.
had
Yeah.
me. I mean, I may have seemed like an open, outgoing person, but I only just had me and my three mates, and
Yeah.
you know them. and then it wasn't until I got set free, and then I was able to, like, man, I've got to, yeah. There was this desire to want to know more, so I
Mm,
had to reach out.
yeah.
I had to reach out and ask
Yeah.
and find out for myself. And then owning the home was one of them, and things like that. But
Mm,
it was a combination of things. It was a progressive thing. It
mm,
wasn't, like I said, in one hit. It was like um, I like to call it celebrating the small wins.
yeah.
So getting that small win,
Mm,
boom, I just got like 10% confident
yeah.
in myself. And
Mm,
then bang, got victory in that. Now I'm at 20%.
yeah.
And then slowly got victory in
Mm,
certain areas of my life to the point where I'm like, yo, I'm good. I'm
mm,
ready to go. Like, I'm so confident and set free now that I'm ready to take on the next challenge, the next challenge. So I'm always looking for the next challenge.
yeah.
And that's kind of like my motivation and my
Mm,
drive now. Like, man, what has God got in store now? Where am I heading now?
yeah.
Um, what is it? And what's the direction?
Mm,
What does that look like? Yeah.
yeah. So when you were making that kind of shift to like a working through, celebrating in the small wins,
Mm-hmm.
obviously when you have, I don't know if that happened to you, but it happened to me. Like you have your mates when you're in that kind of temptation zone
Yep.
and stuff like that, and you start to, come to church, give your life to God, and God takes you on this journey
Mm-hmm.
of refining you.
Mm.
Um, and breaking things off,
Yep.
like addictions and
Yep.
stuff like that.
Yep.
Did you have did you end up losing friends during that time, and how did you kind of cope with that? Because for me, yeah, it did happen.
Yep.
For me, I had mates that I drink
Yep.
with, smoke with, and then I was like, it came to a point, man, nah, this is not me anymore. Sorry, boys, I'm not going out this weekend.
Yeah.
And they're like, hey, what?
Yeah.
Oh, I just started going to church.
Mm.
I think I'm gonna, start following this.
Yep.
And some of them were like, he'll be back.
Yeah. Yeah.
You know, it's to the point they would message me every week.
Yeah.
Nah, slowly them down to every month,
Yeah.
to every now and then, to no more.
Yep.
Bring us back to old Luke.
Yes.
We want the
Yeah,
old
bro.
Luke. Yeah. But tell us.
Pretty much everything you just said, exactly the same
Yeah,
story,
yeah.
bro. Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
As soon as I started saying no to
Mm,
things, and yep, I'll be real. There were times where I'd slip back.
yeah.
100% there were. But the more frequent I started saying no, they stopped asking. And yep, I did lose some friends.
Yep.
I mean, when I say lose friends, I guess not and you'll be you'll agree,
Not cut them off, but
not cut them off,
just
but
distant.
we're just not
to
doing we're not doing the things that we used to like doing
Yeah.
together. Like I don't like like you said, like the drinking and the smoking and things like that. It's like the test of like not not delving into that anymore. And it's not losing a friend. It's just like, oh, I'm just not doing that anymore.
Yeah.
And then they just stop asking. Just stop asking. But I mean, what do they say? Oh, who was it? I started surrounding myself with ones that were gonna at that time period in my life, and you'll probably testify to this as well and agree that I just needed to surround myself with around people that were gonna lift me up in the right areas that I needed, and I didn't need those distractions right now.
Yeah.
Until now, I've like fully got victory in those areas that doesn't distract me, it doesn't tempt me anymore, and all that kind of stuff. So, if that makes sense.
Yeah. Because I work with a lot of youth, and I put it down to a lot of people with youth that kind of smoke weed is sort of just to mask the problems.
Yep.
So they'll smoke weed and just because when you smoke weed, you forget about, oh yeah, this is an awesome time, I'm with my mates.
Yep.
All my problems, it's a cover up, But when the effects wear off, the problems are still there. That's why you get a lot of youth that continue to smoke weed, to every week, to 2 to 3 times a week, to then every day. There's a lot of youth that smoke weed every day. But when you come to God and you slowly deals with all those issues and stuff like that, you start to feel healed that I no longer need to smoke this weed anymore, 'cause it's not, I got no problems to cover up. I'm actually dealing with these problems that I need to kind of deal with.
100.
And I feel like one of the things that I believe is that if we can't get breakthrough from like smoking weed or addictions, it's very hard to get breakthrough in the other areas of our lives. Everything, maybe unforgiveness is really hard to deal with those things because we can't even break off the addiction of smoking or something like that. So, and it's a real process. Everyone knows that, like, if they're smoking weed, it's really hard to give up, or if they're drinking and it's really hard to give up, that they can't live without it.
Yeah.
But I believe if you can break off those things, it can trail down to other areas of your life that you can get breakthrough in.
100. Yeah.
Because the way you work through that is the same way you can work through your problems, instead of running away from them or covering them or, doing other things to get satisfaction out of something else to forget about those things.
100%.
So, so big 180 turn, all praise to God. That he shaped our lives, and basically not having a father figure in the home at certain times in our lives, that he able to fill that gap, and then understand to move forward. And so I guess for yourself as well, how did you I guess progress forward to finding a wife, then having a home, and then how are things been now?
Yep.
And I guess now because you're a father
Mm-hmm.
and you got kids that are now around your age, because Tyrell's how old now?
I mean, he's half my age, so he's turning 17 next week.
Yeah. So like, do you see like, man, when I was 17, I
Dude,
was
splitting image
yeah.
of me, man, straight up, straight
Do
up.
you see some of the things he's starting to fall into when
Mm,
you were young, and
yeah.
how are you dealing with those things at the moment?
I think, yeah, obviously out of all my entire friend group, I'm the one with the oldest kid, so I'm experiencing it
Yeah, firsthand.
firsthand.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, 100%. It wasn't that long ago that we were at high school, so I'm still understand. I mean, the things that haven't changed is the temptations,
Hmm.
obviously. Um, but yeah, I do understand. Yeah, like the social aspect of school, being a teen, and thinking that you know it all. Because I remember I was like, I'm mature. I know what's
Yeah,
going on.
yeah.
I was like, you know what's going on,
Yeah.
but it's hard to explain now as
Yeah,
an adult, bro. As a dad, as a father, you're like,
yeah.
yeah, mate, I remember saying that as well to mum, like, thinking that, bro, you guys are always on me and blah, 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 on my case and blah, blah, blah.
Yeah.
And man, think I'm just dumb or,
Yeah,
or
yeah.
don't know. And I was like,
Mm.
nah, I know exactly what you're saying. Oh, no, you don't. Oh,
Oh.
I remember that. I remember saying that,
Yeah.
And I guarantee a lot of youth will be watching this and be like,
Mm.
yeah, that's right. I know my parents think that, blah, blah, blah. But yeah, there's all the same battles and struggles. It's like I said earlier, it's just intensified
Yeah.
with the access now with a smartphone.
Mm.
It's just all intensified now. But like the temptation of wanting to go party,
Yeah.
and yep, the boy has slipped up a couple of times.
Hmm.
The only difference is that he's being raised in a godly home,
Yeah.
and there's boundaries in place and things like
Mm.
that. And so for me now, it's not necessarily being super strict on those boundaries to the point where it could lead to
Mm.
rebellion,
Yeah.
where it's like, nah, you're not going there, or nah, give me that, or whatever.
Mm.
It's it's not like a no, 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 no. It's a yeah, these are the boundaries. You know them.
Yeah.
It's not. It is a no, but it's not a like a nah. It's
Yeah.
a the boundary, and if you cross it,
Mm.
and enter into that, then the consequences will follow, and
Yeah.
these are it. But are you strong enough to fend off those temptations?
Mm.
And yeah, we've gone through a few of those battles,
Yeah.
but there's certain keys that we've implemented within our home to minimize, if not pretty much non-existent in the household,
Mm.
of that temptation or whatever in the home.
Yeah.
Yeah, does that kind of
Yeah. Yeah. It's kind of hard because it's like when you're you because now we've been a youth
Mm,
and now we're fathers, right?
yeah,
So we've like I'm always like to my
yeah,
teenager, I've already lived your life. Yeah.
yeah,
I've lived the
yeah,
teenage
yeah,
life and now I'm an
yeah,
adult. I've
yeah,
been through what you've been through,
yeah, yeah,
I
yeah,
know what it's like. And the crazy thing is, there's like nothing out there,
yeah.
that's like going to benefit them.
Mm.
But it's hard. It's like you want to wrap them up in bubble wrap kind of thing.
Yeah,
But
yeah,
sometimes I think the only thing, yeah, you can warn them and put the boundaries in place and say, hey,
yeah,
that's not the right thing to do, but if you do, consequences will follow.
yeah,
And that's pretty sad that sometimes we just have to
yeah.
see them fall on their face,
Mm, mm. Yeah,
and be there to pick them up.
yeah,
Yeah. So I guess for yourself,
yep.
What do you think we could do better or continue to do better as parents to help our, young people? Not only, I guess, not only with our own kids, but
Mm-hmm.
I guess with the kids that you work with in the basketball and with
Mm-hmm.
around the automotive course.
Yeah. I think as a parent to begin with,
Yeah.
having some healthy boundaries within the home, and yeah, it might be a bit of a struggle to begin with because depending on where things are at within the relationship of you and your child, but like for what we did was things like cell phones never enter the bedroom.
Mm.
It's always in the lounge. At night, the cell phones go in the charging station in the hallway. That's like near the lounge. That's away from the bedrooms every night before they go to bed.
Yeah.
Cell phones on charge.
Mm.
Let's go. So because you just don't know, you
Yeah.
just don't
Yeah.
know, and like when when I tell the students that I tutor that, oh yeah, nah, my kids don't have their cell phone in their room at night, and they're like, what do you mean? Like, bro, that's his property, that's
Privacy.
that's his my daughter calls it, that's my basket. But yeah, I'm like, nah, man, because yeah, what do you get up to at 3 a.m. At night, bro, on your phone? And he's like, and I'm like, yeah, ain't nothing good at 3 a.m., bro, on
Yeah.
your
Yeah.
phone.
Mm.
When mum and dad are asleep and rah rah, you could be chatting up whoever, whatever.
Yeah.
Um, you know, man, you could be getting up to anything,
Mm.
and you could just be scrolling. Man, it
Yeah.
could just be like scrolling and just looking for that endorphin hit
Yeah.
off scrolling,
Yeah.
looking for the like, oh, that didn't hit it, whatever. Oh, that's a cool thing. Whatever. So
Yeah.
stuff like that, having no cell phones in the room, even during the day, iPads and things like that. We try to keep it in the communal areas.
Yeah.
That makes sense. Yeah. Yes, certain little boundaries like that, curfews, yeah, I don't know. Like there, as a parent, there was just this urge to be like, yeah, look at my kid, they got independence,
Yeah.
it's almost like it. I know, because I felt it, but I didn't necessarily like it because they're not actually ready. Because
Yeah.
when I had that independence, I made a lot of wrong choices.
Mm.
So even though it was cool, like, yeah, look at my son, he's rocking his own gears, he got a little part-time job going on, and rah, 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 and oh, look, he's driving now. Oh, he's driving. Right. Mate, who still puts food on the table, bro? Who still, man, that shower, the gas and the power, it's mum and dad that pay for that, bro. You're still, until you got your own actual full-time job and can pay your own rent and power, whatever, then you're still under my roof, bro. You fall under my authority. And that may seem crazy in today's world,
Yeah.
but it's still needed, man. It's still needed. That discipline is still needed. Um, yeah. So the other question was with like the basketball.
Yeah. Like, what can we do to help our youth that are struggling as well? I guess.
Yeah.
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 So first it was with your son,
Yeah.
and now it's like also with the youth. How can we help support them better with the struggles that they go through?
Yeah. Man, just showing love and support first and foremost.
Yeah.
Love and support, because they probably don't get it at home. A lot of kids don't get it at home, or it's very minimal.
Yeah.
There'll be parents out there that are still struggling, struggling to do life
Yeah.
and just get out of bed. Straight up, man. From the stories that, obviously, my wife's in the preschool sector, and, can't disclose too much, but, I get in trouble now. But,
Yeah.
man, it's real there, and you'll probably know, within your, working with youth, like there's like adults like you and I that are still struggling to live life.
Yeah.
Like get out of bed and start the day.
Mm.
Like rocking up to, countdown and dropping their kids off in their dressing gown still,
Yeah.
with no shoes on.
Mm.
Like that ain't normal.
Yeah.
It ain't. I'm sorry, but it ain't. Like most, you got to get up and start by making your bed. But
Yeah.
yeah. I think. I mean, for a quick example, like for me in running the basketball club, it's an opportunity it's for kids to come in and feel a part of something.
Mm.
And man, I've had so many youth and parents reach out to me and give me feedback and say, look, thank you so much. You've actually helped my son out feel a part of a family,
Yeah.
a
Yeah.
group,
Mm.
and things like that. So yeah, just showing the love, and and even just taking the time to actually catch up with a young person to be like,
Yeah.
hey, how you doing?
Mm.
How's your day going? And I see that now with obviously I've been seeing it for a while now with basketball and running the club and seeing different walks of life coming
Yeah.
through. Now with tutoring, automotive,
Mm.
because out there, there's a lot of the kids that we get are either homeschooled, police referrals,
Yeah.
or kids that are in school, but
Mm.
on the gateway program looking to, whatever, or dropped out of school. And they struggle with the same addictions, man, and all that kind of stuff. But I just relate to them.
Yeah.
I give them a sense of relatability
Mm.
where I understand, and they probably look at me like, oh, this is a young tutor. Like, oh,
Yeah.
snap,
Yeah.
like Nate knows our lingo. Yo,
Yeah.
this cat, like, it's like, because like I said that, like, I think it was last week, and like all the kids were like, hey, tutor just said that's cat. Like, what? It's like, yo, my kid's like the same age
Yeah.
as you
Yeah. Yeah.
guys. Like, I hear
Mm.
all this lingo, and you probably know as
Yeah.
well,
Yeah.
like all that lingo and stuff. So there's that relatability,
Mm.
and they can relate to that, and
Yeah.
they actually they buy into that,
Yeah.
like,
Yeah.
hey, here's someone who's actually down to earth, who isn't just someone saying, all right, give me the spanner here, undo this bolt, put the oil in there, yep, good job, tick the box, you know how to take a bolt off. But actually, like, I
Yeah.
like, hey, so what's your background, man? You're like, so you from, or where you from? It's like, oh, Kaipoi, oh, me,
Yeah.
did you go to school? Nah, school sucks. Like,
Yeah.
man, school's whack, and they're like all the, obviously they're using
Yeah. Yeah.
school language there, but
Mm.
yeah, some of them just hated school, or
Yeah.
some are like, one kid was just like, nah, I dropped out of school. I'm here because the police sent me. I have to do something.
Yeah.
And I was like, what happened? He was like, oh, I ripped the burnout in this guy that I hate's parents' driveway.
Oh.
And I was like, what? He was like, yeah, pop tires and just did a burnout on their driveway.
Yeah.
And then next minute, what? But there was a sense of like, but he was just like, yeah, but no, it was mean. I'm like, oh, that's twisted. That
Yeah.
you think that's awesome, bro? Like, nah, man. There's more than just doing
Yeah.
skids, bro.
Mm.
There's more than just driving up the hills. I mean, but hey, everyone's young
Yeah.
at
Yeah.
a stage in their life, and they want to experience freedom and whatever. But
Yeah.
just showing that relatability
Mm-hmm.
and connecting and actually wanting to get to know them.
Yeah.
They feed off that.
Mm.
I feed off that.
Yeah. Yeah.
Having like our boxing coach, like my basketball coach,
Yeah.
that actually like, how's your day going, mate? Oh, so whereabouts you stay? How's mum and all that stuff?
Yeah.
So actually getting to know me, not just a face.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
Mm. So I guess probably two last questions. One of the questions is if parents, because some parents might not have like a structure or certain
Right.
boundaries that they have in their home.
Mm.
What do you think they could do better and how would they go about it? So, like, say, solo parent at home, or both parents at home, and their child is like on the loose, or one of the bad kids that you've worked with before. Um, what? And then the parents came to you and said, "Hey, we're having trouble with our son Jack. He's
Yeah,
doing
yeah.
this. He's throwing things around.
Mm.
What do you think could help? What do you think they should do, or what support things do you think are out there?"
Man, I had a good example is one kid in the basketball club. Parents had kind of split, and son has gone. What's it like? Just suffers with a lot of
Mm,
anger towards, I think, just mum or dad, for what had happened,
yeah.
and the split that happened.
Mm,
But then was like, Nate, here is the only place where he feels um, kind of safe,
yeah.
or kind of feels like this is keeping him grounded.
Mm,
What you guys are doing in the basketball club, just the atmosphere and the sense of family that
yeah.
you offer, and make us feel a part,
Mm,
keeps him grounded, and this is the only place where he wants to be.
yeah.
Man, that spoke to me. So just offering, um, I guess what I'm trying to say is reach out and find those certain services,
Yeah.
that, and you might need to try and take a conversation with your child, and find out, what it is
Mm,
that they have
yeah.
interest in. Hey, why don't you go try this out, or
Mm,
why don't you go blah blah blah, and it can be quite hard, yeah, as a solo or even
yeah.
as together parents. Where look, I've tried everything, trying to break into my kid,
Mm,
he's the hardest one I've been trying to crack, or whatever, trying to crack him, and he's just making bad choices with this wrong friend group, but I just can't get him
yeah.
out of
Yeah.
it.
Mm,
And that is tough. That
yeah.
is tough. Like, yeah, I've kind of um, been through that as well with my own kids.
Mm,
But yeah, trying to find those certain services that can help them, not, I wouldn't say distract, but actually lead them towards
yeah. Yeah.
um, solid grounding and
Mm,
direction of, interest that might lead to employment opportunity,
yeah.
or entrepreneurship
Yeah.
for a certain area.
Mm,
Different seeking those different services, um, and as a parent, with a kid that's, man, I've tried, he just keeps on,
yeah.
reoffending, or whatever it
Mm,
may be, or slipping up in this area, or whatever. Um, and at the end of the day, me personally, you can have all the talks that
yeah.
you want with your child, and this
Mm,
is me speaking about even my own kids. You can have all the conversations you want with them, but at the end of the day, they've
yeah.
got to make that decision.
Mm,
But you as a parent, I believe you got to look at yourself as well and be like, man, have I set up my home and my household and
yeah.
the
Yeah.
environment first? I think you
Mm,
got to look within first,
yeah.
and because train your child in the things, and in what is it, whatever that we, I guess, what's the saying, whatever we do in moderate, our kids will do in excess.
Mm,
So like making some changes in the
yeah.
household, and things like that. Like if I'm slipping up, expect my son to watch and be like, "Oh, Dad did
Mm,
that," must be all good,
yeah.
you
Yeah.
know. So first look inward, um, and have a look in some areas that I need to
Mm,
change, and then correct before I then try and correct my own kid.
yeah. Yeah.
That's the check I always
Mm,
get within myself.
yeah.
Um, and but yeah, like I said, they may and they may not slip up,
Mm,
and you can have as many conversations as you want or as you can,
mm,
but at the end of the day, they got to sit to the banquet of their own consequences of whatever decision they make.
Yeah.
And you can set them up and give them guidelines and boundaries. And hey, look, I'm just telling you, if this happens, blah blah blah.
Yeah.
So then you can be like, hey, look, I'm gonna love you and support you,
Yeah.
still, whatever. And man, might come, man. I mean, just from coaching, real quick, like seeing coaching kids that have come from wealthy backgrounds,
Yeah.
parents are like super wealthy and business minded, and great family support, but they rat bags.
Yeah.
They still slip up in making silly decisions, and just living off mum and dad and not doing
Yeah.
anything with their lives. I've seen that as well.
Yeah.
So it's in both spectrums.
Yeah. I think it's just
Yeah.
like communication is key, and
Yep.
just taking that time out to really, speak with
Yes.
your child. And
Yep.
also, I think the tone of voice is also very important as well, and how you're delivering that. Like, you can't be cooking dinner and then talking to your son. It's that one-on-one communication. I think
Yep.
is really really key. But yeah, so one of my things is like when I'm wanting to tell off my one of my child's one of my kids, it's like sometimes it's not what I can teach them.
Yep.
But what are they actually teaching me? Meaning how can I respond better, or
Yeah.
how can I, what you're saying with the youth, how can I get inside their world,
Yep.
using their lingo, how they talk, so they're like, oh,
Yeah. Yeah.
and I think you capture them better as well,
Yep.
in order to work with them. But yeah, one last question would be, is the other end with a struggling youth that really wants to make changes. They're going through a lot, broken home, or like, they really want to make that switch. And they've come to you, say like one of them from your automotive course has come to you, hey Nate, man, I'm struggling with addictions, or I'm struggling with this, bro. Bro, how can you help me? Yeah, what some advice would give him?
Yeah, if I had a kid that opened up that deeply, I'd be I'd be just I'd be straight up honest. I was like, bro, only God can help, man. He helped me, and then I'd share my testimony in which I came from, and then they might already know because I might have already shared it, but then I'd share kind of like, hey, I was 15, bro.
Yeah.
I was 15 when I had my son, and I struggled with this, struggled with that, and then God set me free from X, Y, and Z, and one by one, and small win after small win, I built myself up. I was born again, and I built myself up. Yeah, if someone came to me and reached out and wanted to go that deep, then I'd obviously, given the opportunity, I'd be able to speak in to the life, and share, and probably, I'd probably give, well, I've done it, given some practical keys, things like we spoke about, set some goals, man, set some small goals. Don't just think of big picture, like, whoa, does that mean I need to change all of this my whole life? Like, say, but just a little bit at a time, bro.
Small
Just
wins,
one small win at a time, bro. And then you'll get to the golden, whatever. But just break it down. And, question and be open up and be able to, like, well, how's things in the home? What area is this? And certain youth open up a lot, and some youth will be like, oh, you touched a touchy subject there, and obviously as an adult you see, we're like, well, okay, that's a doorway that's not that you're not letting me in right now, and that's cool. That's cool.
So
All right,
ease your way back.
yeah. You got to see what am I at the dollar bill? Okay, sweet. We're not at the Benjamin yet. Okay, we're not making bang. We're right in there. So some definite, because I have shared And then some kids will be like, yeah, Nate, but I know you're Christian and I know all that, but like, but really, come on, like, like actually, like, I've had some youth that will be like, yeah, but like, what else, man? Like, what, okay, whatever, if I'm not, yeah, I understand,
Yeah,
God and blah, 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 but like,
they want an easier way.
yeah, yeah. I
Instead
was
of
like, what else
submitting
did you
their life.
do? Yeah. They just want some life
Yeah.
things, and I'm like, well, that is it. But
Because they still want to live in their sin, They still want
yeah,
to
yeah,
continue doing
yeah,
what they're doing. But
yeah. I had one kid
want a
that was
better
just
life
like,
hack.
yeah. I had one kid that was like, I was reaching out 2 years ago, at school and basketball and stuff, and he was like, yeah, but coach, um, he's like, don't you miss it? It's cool though. It's like the adrenaline and blah, blah. Like,
Yeah.
like
Back
it's,
then, yeah, but
yeah. I was
it's
just
like,
like, dude, it got me nowhere.
yeah.
It got me nowhere but an empty, bank account and and running from the popos, man. Like, that's what it brought. That's what it brought.
If I was still doing it, I wouldn't be here, mate.
Yeah, man. Yeah. I tell my kids sometimes. I was like,
Yeah.
mate, if I didn't find God, mate, I would be flatting with the boys, and we
Yeah.
we on every weekend. So my bank account was zero. That's the honest truth. I'll be probably like, all my annual leave and sick leave will be gone because I'll be at home gaming.
Yeah.
I don't know, but yeah. I mean, if they open up that door,
Yeah.
an opportunity to speak in, then I'm gonna be straight up. And then if they want some, like, obviously some practical keys,
Yeah.
then I give them some practical keys and some goals, small wins, and things like that.
Yeah.
To work on. Like, you got to make some changes around here. It's definitely breaking down the old mindset and the strongholds.
Yeah.
But you got to break through the surface level stuff before you can get down deep into the nitty gritty. And that's where when you get to the root. When you get to the root, then you can really start to see some breakthrough and some change happening. But like, for majority of the time of youth and stuff like that, they just want the surface level, and then they might open up to go deeper.
Yeah.
So,
Awesome.
hopefully that helps.
Yeah, man. Awesome, bro. I just want to say thank you for taking some time out away from your whānau and giving some insight of your background history and what you've been doing working with the youth and stuff like that. It's been awesome to see like the stuff online when you do post up.
Yeah, when I do, yeah.
When you do, because obviously we both live busy lives and we haven't really caught up, so it's been good to do a double whammy, catch up as well as
right.
on the podcast. But thank you for coming along
All good, bro. All good.
and sharing your life with us. And
Yeah.
cheers, brother.
Sweet. All good. Thanks for having me. It's been fun.
Awesome.
Sweet.
Thanks, brother.